You know, as car people, we're always waiting for those perfect weekend days, or just any days in general, when you can open the garage door and it's 75 degrees outside, the weather's perfect, there's no clouds in the sky, and you can drive to your favorite parking lot and stand with a bunch of your friends and talk about nothing for hours. That's pretty much the perfect Saturday morning for a car person. But what do you do on the days when you wake up and it's not so nice? What about the days that are pouring rain? What about all the months that go through the year when it's cold, it's snowing, and pretty much all the car events have been shut down for the year? What do you do then? Welcome to the Casual Enthusiast. My name is Charlie, and today in this video, I just wanted to show you guys a quick overview of my sim rig, which is the topic that this video is all about. What it's been like to own, just some quick overviews, some pros, cons, how much it's cost, and whether or not I would go through the hassle of doing this again. Because I can tell you it's a ton of work and it was really expensive. But I think you'd be surprised at how it turned out and my thoughts on it now compared to before I did it. Because like everybody, when you're dealing with a party with a lot of money, you really think about it. Because the sim rig pretty much costs about what a cheap car would cost, so you are really invested if you go this route and build a sim rig. So with that, I'm just gonna jump right in and start showing you guys and tell you about it. I'll show you quickly how I have my setup laid out, some of the components that go into it, then we'll briefly talk about costs and stuff, and I'll just show you some footage of the rig. All right, let's get to it. All right, let's just jump straight into con number one and get this out of the way. This thing takes up a ton of space. I mean, you can see it's pretty much the whole corner of this room upstairs. Running three 27-inch monitors are not even that big, but it takes up a lot of space. I mean, this is something that you really have to commit to. It's extremely heavy, so you're not moving it in and out of the way. Wherever you find a spot for this thing is pretty much where it's gonna stay, so good. All right, cool, we got that one out of the way. Let's check it out. Okay, so let's just get the bad stuff out of the way first. And the biggest downside to something like this is the price. Because this setup as it sits now, which is not even the best you can get ever, I mean, there is still nicer equipment than this, costs around $5,000 or $6,000 in components alone before you start buying any games or anything like that, which we'll get to the actual sims that I use here in a minute. This wheelbase alone with the wheel rim and the base, so no pedals and nothing else, is about $2,000 after taxes. That's a lot. The pedals themselves are about $350 plus tax, and then this actual seat that everything mounts to, which is an R-Seat S1, is around $1,000 plus when you start adding add-ons to it, like a shifter mount and things like that, which I did. And then the shifter costs another like $300 itself. So none of this is cheap. It's a huge commitment, and like I said, you could buy a car for that. And that's not even talking about the PC that I have and all the monitors and everything like that, because with that alone, you can buy a $5,000 computer. I went with minimal specs because the only thing I was using this PC for is just sim racing, so the specs didn't have to be ridiculously crazy. I'm only running 1080 monitors, so it's 5760 I think by 1080. So there's a lot of pixels there, but this handles it just fine. I'm running an NVIDIA 1660 Ti graphics card, and I think it only has like 16 gigs of RAM in the computer, and it runs just fine on a lot of the sims that I use. But if you plan to run like 4K triple monitor 32s or something like that, you could spend $5,000 on just the computer alone. Having said that, this is one of those systems. This is a Fanatec DD1. This is the F1 edition that comes with this, limited F1 rim, which is really awesome. Fanatec has an awesome ecosystem of a bunch of different wheels and pedals, and they're quick release so that you can change out wheels and have a bunch of different style rims for all the different types of racing you do. This is an F1 rim, obviously for F1 cars, but this isn't very good for street car racing or for GT car racing. I forgot, let me go grab one of those real quick. So these are the other two wheel rims that I have. The first one is this Porsche 911 rim. I absolutely love this wheel. This is the only circular wheel rim that I have, and it's good for all kinds of racing, whether it's just normal street car driving or GT cars or the cup cars. This one's fantastic. It's got the magnetic paddles. This wheel rim alone is about, it's like $700 by itself. So none of this stuff is cheap, but it's all extremely good quality. I've only had it for a couple of years now, but I've not had any issues, knock on wood, of any kind of failures or anything. Everything's built like a tank, and these are the best. I don't know if you can hear that. These are the best paddles. I don't like paddle cars. I prefer manual, obviously. But these are the best paddles I've ever felt like on anything. Real car or sim car. These magnetic paddles they have are so satisfying to use when you do drive a car that has them, this is fantastic. And then the other wheel rim that I have is their Mclaren Gt3 Rim. It's a good one. It's really inexpensive. It's mostly made out of plastic as opposed to metal and carbon fiber and stuff the other ones are. But it is very nice, and it's a great entry-level wheel. If you run GT3 cars or any of those kind of series like that, this is a great inexpensive rim to have. And if you don't want to spend the money on an F1 rim, this one can kind of double as an F1 rim. It's small enough, smaller in diameter that you could use it if you really wanted to. So again, another good rim to have in my collection. And that's actually about it. That's the only wheel rims that I have. That covers all the bases that I use. So let's take a look at the pedals and the shifter, and then we'll get into the sims. So obviously, as any car enthusiast has to have, this is my H-pattern shifter. This is the Fanatec shifter for their ecosystem, and man, this thing is built like a tank. I've driven the Thrustmaster shifter that you can buy. It's like $150 or something like that. This thing feels better than the shifter in a lot of actual cars. So no matter what other gear or wheel rim you go with, this is a must. And then pedals, Fanatec only has a couple offers when it comes to pedals, and these are just their Club Sport pedals. These are actually really great pedals. They're a great step up from the Thrustmaster set that I had before. You know, they're not as good as a hydraulic set, obviously, but they're way cheaper. And for what they are, they're a great step up. And I think I'll use them for quite a while until I don't know. Maybe I'll outgrow them. I'm not sure. But yeah, and then let's talk about the seat. Like I said, this is an R seat, S1. This is really comfortable. It's a little bit bigger than the Sparco Sprints in my C5, but it's comfortable enough. You don't want it so narrow that it's just uncomfortable to drive for a long time. It's easy enough to get in and out of. I think it looks great too. I've driven a couple of longer races with it, and it just, it does a great job. And like I said, everything mounts to this R seat rig. The shifter mounts to its own arm. The seat's mounted to the base. And then the wheelbase is mounted on this arm. All right, so let's check out the sims that I use and then just show you some footage. Sweet, let's do it. So my first and favorite sim that I use all the time is the tried true staple iRacing. Now, it's a little expensive. It's one of those subscription-based games to where you have to pay month over month, and it's not exactly cheap, but as far as online racing goes and driving physics, it's my personal favorite. They're constantly updating tire models, physics engines, track layouts, track details. Everything is constantly being updated, so you know that you're getting the best of the best, and they're always making it better. So there's the cost associated, but if you're serious about this and you spend $5,000 on a sim rig, spending $100 a year on the best sim you can buy, it's kind of a no-brainer. And then the one that I also use in conjunction with that is I use Assetto Corsa, just the original Assetto Corsa from a few years ago. I have ACC, the Assetto Corsa Competizione, but I don't use it all that much because if I'm going to run GT cars, I just run an iRacing. So yeah, so I'm just going to go through a couple different cars and show you guys just what it looks like to run and drive and some screenshots of it and stuff. And, we'll just check it out. If you have any questions about any of the components that I talked about, the seat, the base, the pedals, the shifter, the computer, any of that stuff, leave those in the comments below. Like I said, if you find this helpful or you just enjoy it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Hopefully I'll be making more videos on this stuff if you guys like this, and yeah, we'll just go from there. All right, till next time.